Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, no doubt, continues now. This, my fellow Americans, is the broadcast for, what is it? It's already October the 23rd. Holy moly, in the year of our Lord, 2025. This is our 2 at 2, promoting God, family, and country, protecting life, liberty, and property. That's who we are and what we do in the traditions of our founding fathers. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we follow the Prince of Peace. That's why we reject revolution. Unless it's a Jesus revolution, then we're in, right? Welcome to the show. We've got so much to cover, so little time. As you know, we talk about the right to keep and bear arms. That right shall not be infringed. No compromise on the right to keep and bear arms, right? Also, no compromise on, not only do we promote God, family, and country on this show, but we protect life, liberty, and property. That's a real telltale for the show. We're truth tellers on these very important issues. And today, my dear buddy, Casey Whalen, investigative journalist, videographer, proprietor of North Idaho Exposed, CaseyWhalen.substack.com, but you can find him all over the place, man, on X, just everywhere, really. But he does such a tremendous job in his journalism. He gets to the who, what, when, where, why, and how of every story, and he does so with just candid video, to the point where the liberals just freak out, and they try to assault him, and he just smiles and goes, you shouldn't do that. The guy's incredible. He's funny. He does a great job, but he brings serious issues to the table, ladies and gentlemen. One of them is this. The issue is about the West. It's about land. It's about the West Fork Pine Creek Road dispute. You heard of it yet? All right, you will. Facts versus deception is kind of the real topic. Okay? Right now, there's no legal evidence for the West Pine Fork Road, but yet the battle is on. Why, you ask? Well, that's really the question. That's what we're here to explore today. What am I talking about? I'm talking about in North Idaho, there's battle over land. Are you surprised? There's battle over land in every western state, really, because the government's out of control, number one. But now you got whacked out environmental groups involved and manipulating and agitating and suing and causing problems left and right as well. Joe, I think that's where your story starts, right?
Well, kind of, yeah.
All right, tell me what happened. You're just minding your own, right?
Well, yeah. I own some land here, and there's a Jeep club that keeps pushing the issue that they should be crossing my property. And I
Wait a minute, let me stop you, Joe. I don't mean to interrupt. Whose property?
It's my property.
Oh, you mean private property and it's Joe's?
Yes, my own private property.
Yes, sir. Keep going. I'm just making a point out of that, highlighting that reality check, right?
Yeah. So this Jeep club keeps pushing that there's an old road that they want it to be a public road. There's two roads. I allow access on one of the roads where they can cross my land and go to the public land, which is Bureau of Land Management. I allow them to use that road. But there's an old road that they keep saying is a public road, and they want to use it, which also accesses BLM land. But it doesn't do them any good because the BLM land going on that route is closed to motorized use. But yet they've been driving on it and just doing as they want.
All right, when did this all start, Joe?
Well, it started, it's been ongoing for probably about 5 years now. This Jeep club asked for validation of this road 4 years ago, and it went through the county, and the county denied it as a public road. Then they asked for a rehearing.
So hold on. So just to be clear, the county backed your private property rights. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
All right, keep going.
Okay, then there was a rehearing with the county, and the county still backed my rights. They denied the validation.
And the rehearing is kind of like so if if you lose in court and you say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna challenge this, I'm gonna try to go forward anyway. It was like that in a way, right?
Yeah, they kept trying. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I am the reason I'm using general language, not specific court language, is because in the county it's just like, hey, we'll rehear your case if you have other facts, we'll entertain it. This is where the county they were fair a little bit and said, hey, we'll give them a chance. Let's see what they got. And second time they said no, right?
Right. The second
Appeal
time
overruled, in other words.
Yeah, they still denied the validation as a public road. Yes. And so then the Jeep Club asked for a district court. They appealed to a district court. And then the district court, they agreed with the county and said that it is not a public road. And
why,
then,
ladies and gentlemen, you ask? Because it's Joe's property. That's why, right?
Yeah. So then they they appealed to the next court, which is the Idaho Supreme Court. So then the Idaho Supreme Court said that due to some 1909 commissioner minutes in the commissioner's minute books, that it was some kind of a public road, but it's not in the interest of the public for it to be a public road. So that's what's created some of the mess now, because the Jeep Club thinks it's a public road, but it's not validated as a public road.
All right, so let's bring in Jan Higdem now, because she's a crack researcher, breaking this down for us a little bit. So hold on a minute. So they went all the way back trying to prove something. Is that what happened, Jan?
Say that again, sir.
They went back and tried to go back to 1909 or whatever and say, hey, this is a public road. But when they went back, then the modern adjudication of that said, yes, but it's not as you think it is, right?
Correct. So it was actually a fourth win for the county, but
really a fourth win for Joe, right?
Yeah, for the county, for the private landowner. But
yes.
The Trailblazers, the recreation group, then had their lawyer send our prosecutor a letter that said that yes, the road is not validated, but the Supreme Court said it's a public road, and until we hear further, my client's view is that it's a public road and they're going to come drive on it. And if you try to stop them through legal means or the landowners, then you're violating some Idaho code for obstructions on a public road. And the county actually at that point, our prosecutor, for some reason kind of concurred with that notion and told the sheriff's office to stand down, no anything until this issue could be figured out, even though it's already been figured out. And so the only thing left to do is evidently file for an abandonment of this road that's not a public road, and then see what happens from there. But so they then, in the beginning, they were never in 1909. They did not follow the current road law as a territory of Idaho. They didn't follow the road law. They didn't have a hearing on the landowners, whether you agreed to lose this land or not. There were no deeds issued from the landowners to the county. There were no payments made for the taking of the land, and there was most importantly never a survey done on the road.
If we're going to claim it's a public road back in 1909 or whatever the time is, then you're going to have somebody responsible in maintaining and et cetera that road. And that's what's lacking, right?
Yes, sir. Their basic contention, see, the whole thing was over two parcels. The West Fork Pine Creek Road does exist to a certain point, and then it stopped. The county responsibility stopped at a certain point. And then this little road that meanders everywhere and isn't the same road as in 1909 because it's in the creek bed, it goes through 2 private parcels before it hits the public lands. And then in 99, they closed that road, the BLM did, because it kept washing out from the floods, and they had to rebuild it and put in new culverts and this and that. So they closed it to motorized. But then they turned their heads, and they allowed for the trailblazers and other recreationalists to use motorized on the non-motorized road.
All right, hang tight, Jan. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Avery with us, a landowner in the great state of Idaho. We've also got researcher Jan Higdon with us, and we're talking about the West Fork Pine Creek Road. We'll tell you more in seconds. Hang tight.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep, and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
Cybercrime is exploding. Take Sarah from Sweet Delights, whose world crumbled after having to close with not being able to bounce back. Small businesses are prime targets, but the right strategies can keep yours safe. Jay Hill, CEO of Network Providers, has co-authored The Cyber Playbook Simplifies Cybersecurity for Business Owners with Strategies to avoid costly breaches and fines. Build a strong cyber attack response. Secure your business with key protections. Cyber threats aren't slowing down, but you can stay ahead. Protect your business. Ensure its security for tomorrow. Get the Cyber Playbook today at networkprovidersinc.com/cyber-playbook or call 385-446-5500 now.
Back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about Jeep clubs in a battle with private landowners, BLM and government land in the middle of it all, the county, the state, the feds, courts, everybody and their dog going to battle over this thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's a huge issue, especially for Joe Avery, landowner. We're also talking to researcher Jan Higdon about this. And you researched the history of this West Fork Pine Creek Road, proving that it was never really officially a road. I want to talk about that, Jan. I want people to understand this issue has to do with this West Pine road. It's a dispute.
It's okay.
You got facts versus deception. And the reason I'm hesitating on this road is the name is the West Fork Pine Creek Road dispute, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me about that dispute then, because a lot of things are in question, and there's really massive debates, even though a bunch of rulings have gone clarifying a lot of this. I don't understand how it can be so clarified, but the muddy waters be so muddy. Jan?
Well, it has to do with there were the 2 parcels that were the subject of the validation. The only 2 private parcels, but the Jeep Club, they insisted on adding all the way up through, I don't know how many miles of BLM road where this thing continued on. So then we bring in the term RS-2477, and that if you could, those are the wagon roads and the trails, go west, young man, and anything that they had done, they could call a road. But then in the end, after the FLIPMA in 1976, you had to declare these roads with the county. The county had to declare that they were roads retroactively, and they had to have been done before the forest actually went into the reserves, which the Coeur d'Alene National Forest went into reserves in 1903. So the county hadn't done anything until 1909, which means that can't be an RS-2477 road. And that's our issue. Now, the Trailblazers, the group, they only know how to lie, basically. And they've said that the BLM has no authority to close a road on its own land, that it's the county road. Well, the county in an RS-2477 only has basically an easement. It doesn't have any ownership. It just has an easement. That's it. And so that's it. So they're stuck on that. And then they lied about that. Then they went and dragged in the Attorney General, Raul Labrador, did a call. Their attorney went and visited him in the big city, and Raul was misinformed, was told some things that weren't true, and said that there was a gate, there was this gate. So if the gate's blocking the road, then the people need to move it. And that was where it was kind of left at. But then the Jeepsters came online on Facebook and said that Raul said that they could go ahead and tear down the gate. It was okay. It was illegally there, and they could tear it down. So I get on the phone, and I talked to Raul about this, and he said, I never said that. Oh, my gosh. And so he issues his own little thing on Facebook and tells those guys to stop posting that. And so he's on their list. But in the meantime, we are, we're in possession of the patent deeds, all the patent deeds that you could have from that time frame, pure ownership with no legal description of a road in them whatsoever. And we're sitting in the right, but the prosecutor is telling the sheriffs not to do anything. They came out one day a month or so ago, and they took a sawzall and they cut the metal gate, which is really, it's an expensive $6,000 gate like BLM has. They cut that down, and then they proceeded to drive their vehicles all over the closed BLM road to get to this roller coaster, which I could drop it right there for a minute because the roller coaster is a bone of contention. All
right, so hold on, just so everybody understands then, to get to the roller coaster, this roller coaster is a piece of land that you drive your Jeep on that's like a roller coaster, and that's why it's nicknamed that. Is that right?
That's true. The BLM, without any proper planning, let them come in and do telly humps and tank traps and make it like a roller coaster, fill them with logs and rocks and make this obstacle course that people are coming here from all over the world to do because it's fun. It's man-made, but it was not made legally through the NEPA process, the National Environmental Policy Act, and didn't get public comment, didn't have an environmental analysis or anything. So a group of people have petitioned the BLM to have this recreation site obliterated, leveled out, and then shrunk in width so that it's the same size as it was back in the day. And then hopefully then that Jeep Club will leave the private landowners alone and not try to get across his property because we've destroyed their playground, which we don't want to do it, but it's like this playground is in the wrong spot and needs to be done properly. And that's
the problem here. We have no legal evidence of a West Fork Pine Creek Road is the problem. There's no legal evidence for this. And that's really where the rubber meets the road, whether, you want to say, well, we should have this playground or you want to debate this or that. The question becomes access. And the question really has to do with the lack of documentation. They didn't really realize back in the 1903, 1900, they didn't really realize this would all be in dispute, and different people kind of shirked their responsibilities. People didn't document things well enough. There's all kinds of laws, and that's really the backstory of what Ammon Bundy and Cliven Bundy and their deal was about. They're like, wait a minute, we have the rights to the land, you general government folks don't. And I mean, we're really talking about the same disputes with different details, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so there's two pieces of property that you mentioned, two private parcels. Joe's one of them. Who has the other one?
Hancock.
It's called Manulife Timber Company owns the other parcel.
Okay, so a corporation owns the
for
other.
Investment.
Okay, and where do they stand on this issue?
They allow people to go on their property, like if you want to go hunting or something like that, but only only non-motorized. They do not want you driving on their land, not in this area anyway.
All right, so the debate
There's
is
a
these
fire
two private
danger to their
these two
assets.
fire
They
people.
just
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, they allow people to go on their property, but just not motorized use.
And that I want to bring up the details about use of land here, because this real dispute has to do with the destruction of property, right? I mean, when you bring motorized vehicles on there, you get trash, you get all kinds of problems, you get it erodes the land. I mean, help me understand that, Joe, from a private owner of land. The issue here is that what's happening to the land, right?
Yes, and then see, this road they want to drive on goes through the creek, and that's part of the reason why the Bureau of Land Management has it closed up above. That's what, it's all non-motorized on the Bureau of Land Management. There's a beaver dam built right across the old road, and there's creek crossings, and it's just not a place for a road to be. That's why the BLM abandoned their section of it a long time ago. This other road was built on the hillside to get away from the creek bottom. And that's the road that they are allowed, the Jeeps are allowed to use that road. But they don't like it because it's a regular road. They want to use the creek bottom and drive through the water.
And the dams.
All right, so the beavers are getting up in protest about this too, ladies and gentlemen. No, how come the BLM hasn't stood up then? If they've backed away from the road for these reasons, how come they're not speaking up about this? They're just kind of turning their heads on this thing.
Well, they have kind of started to do a little something. There's signs up there that say, it's non-motorized. But the Jeep Club the Jeep Club says that the BLM has no authority to close the road. But I don't know. I don't know where the Jeep Club thinks they got their information. But
all right, ladies and gentlemen, here's why researcher Jann and why Joe Avery, private landowner, are saying, hey, there's no legal evidence for this Pine Creek Road. Here's why. No official resolution was ever passed to declare or designate such a road, number one. Number two, no public hearings were even held to discuss its designation. Number three, no surveys were ever conducted to deal with the confluence of the forks to establish a road. No land deeds were transferred for private landowners for the Shoshone County. No, none of this has been done. No compensation was ever made to landowners for right-of-way, quote, losses. No public maintenance was conducted, repairs, plowing, upkeep, etc. No federal declaration ever designated it as a road. Before the Coeur d'Alene National Forest was created in 1903. This is serious. Legal issues matter. The question is, where are we going next with this thing? We'll find that out from Joe and our great researcher, Jann. And then when we get back, I also want to talk to Casey Whalen, because you know what? He's documented this thing till the cows come home on his incredible Substack feed. CaseyWhalen.substack.com. We'll tell you more. You're listening to the one and only hard-hitting news the network refused to use. It's called Liberty Roundtable Live.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
Breaking news from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Wrapping up his visit to Israel, Vice President Vance is condemning an Israeli parliament vote on annexing the West Bank.
Somebody told me that it was a political stunt, that it had no practical significance. It was purely symbolic. I mean, look, if it was a political stunt, it was a very stupid political stunt, and I personally take some insult to it.
Vance is on the same page as Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who's now headed to Israel. The Trump administration turning up the heat on Vladimir Putin, slapping sanctions on Russia's two biggest oil companies. Ukrainian President Zelensky says it's quite clear that Russia will not commit to serious ceasefire talks without some serious arm twisting.
Ceasefire is possible, of course, and I think all of us need ceasefire. But we need more pressure on Russia for ceasefire.
A warning to radio and TV station operators from FCC Chairman Brendan Carr.
Giving a monopoly to one entity on these particular airways, and so what the federal government expects is that you look out for not just your own partisan or narrow interest, but you're looking out for the broader public interest of the community.
And if they don't, Carr tells the Salem Radio Network that holders of broadcast licenses could lose those licenses. Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier among more than 30 people arrested in connection with a federal investigation into illegal sports betting. Federal government shutdown drags on after Senate Democrats once again torpedoed a Republican bill to reopen the federal government and begin budget negotiations. Another suspected drug-running boat blown to smithereens off the coast of Colombia. The vessel taken out by the U.S. military. It is the second such strike in the Pacific. Watching Wall Street, the Dow is 64 points higher, while the Nasdaq is up 142 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
This is a comeback of really providential proportions. There has to be some sort of higher purpose or higher plan. I think we can see now what that plan was. And that is that God, it appears, had something in mind, a big project, if you will, for Donald Trump.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Abby Johnson was once director of a Planned Parenthood clinic in Bryan, Texas. After a moral crisis, she quit, and now she campaigns against what she once endorsed.
They implement abortion quotas in all of their clinics.
What do you mean quotas?
You have to perform a certain number of abortions every month. One of the reasons that I left...
Are they explicit about that?
Yes. It's in your budget, right there on the line item. One of the reasons I left Planned Parenthood was because in a budget meeting I was told to double that abortion quota. And for me, as someone who had spoken to the media and had said, you know, we're about reducing the number of abortions, we're about, you know, prevention, all of these other services, I was shocked to hear
since you actually worked at a Planned Parenthood, give us some sense of the relative number of abortions.
Okay, abortions, Planned Parenthood provides over 330,000 abortions a year. They are the largest single abortion provider in our country.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At cspoa.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
This is a battle between truth and deceit, a battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness, and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com. Joe Avery with me, ladies and gentlemen. Researcher Jan Higdon with me as well. They've simply researched the history of the West Fork Pine Creek Road, proving that it was never officially a road. Regional Jeep clubs have disagreed. That's an interesting detail. You got to kind of wonder what's next in this thing. The battle goes on. There's been a lot of losses for these Jeep groups and everything else. A lot of wins for Joe and for this other company that owns the other piece of land that these Jeep folks are trying to go through. The battle's on in Shoshone County, Idaho, basically is the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big dispute. Facts versus deception is kind of the point. So, Joe, what's going to happen here? I don't want this to go violent or anything else, but when you start to, cut people's expensive fences down, you start just violating, you start lying to the attorney general, at some point you go, I pray this thing remains peaceful. Do you think it can?
Well, yeah, we're hoping so. We're just hoping it does stay peaceful. Again, it's not like I'm blocking them from accessing public land, because I am not. There is another road on my property also that I allow them to use, and that's the one they go when they go to the roller coaster. But it's a regular road. They don't really like a regular road. They like this other one because it's kind of rough and through the water and the beaver dam and all that. So they try to say that I'm blocking their access, but that is not true. Also, there is another access for them to come from a different direction altogether. It's called Latour Creek. They can get to their roller coaster from that way also. So when they say that I'm blocking their public access, that is not true.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I pray this thing remains peaceful, but when you start, destroying property and stuff like that, things get heated really quickly. I'm just here to tell you. And when we, have all kinds of adjudications in the favor of private landowners and these Jeep clubs, where are the environmentalists in this? I get this company that owns one piece. I get Joe's position. I get the, county's position. I get the BLM's position. Where are the environmentalists on this thing? Are they rioting, Joe?
Well, yeah, the environmentalists like Idaho Conservation League, they just don't feel like the Jeep should be using this lower road because it drives through the water so much. And then they're also against the roller coaster itself because it was constructed in the creek bottom, and they're kind of trying to put the heat on the BLM to get something figured out, just like all the rest of us are. If a facility such as a roller coaster was to be constructed, it shouldn't be down in the creek bottom anywhere near water or, where there's any issues. There's no cell phone service there also, so if there's an accident, it was just never thought out. How it even got to be like it is in question.
All right, let's get Casey in this mix here. Casey Whalen, an incredible researcher, a journalist, does a phenomenal job, just runs around with his camera, doing great stuff, documenting things. How did you get drafted into this thing, Casey?
I've been embedding in different communities over the last couple of years. Just kind of have a kind of an interesting life right now, and so I found that embedding in different counties is really powerful and impactful because you get to learn the lay of the land, meet the people, find out who are the researchers, and so I don't have to do everything. I can kind of do everything if I have to, but there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. So my point is to kind of get into communities like Shoshone County and help locals get stories out. And so that's what we've done in Joe's case with the help of Jann and some other really great people that really care. And his neighbors are not in favor of the Jeep Club driving through their their community, and they want to put a stop to it. So I think we've been really successful in getting the information out and using video and interviews and a little writing, and I think across the board we're really helping kind of get the word out. And then with the Idaho Conservation League and other like-minded groups coming together to help Joe out, I think hopefully he can preserve his property here.
So you basically document, it's little mini documentaries on site with a lot of this stuff, and a lot of your video at your Substack really highlights the details of this, so people can, not just hear it on the radio, but see literally what's going on and what the details of the roads are and the land, right?
Yeah, because it's kind of confusing. There's once you got to understand the couple of the vital points about this story, but I think it's important, and yes, it is a very local story, but that's sort of my niche, I guess, is to focus locally like that and just help people who get their stories out. So that's what we've done in Joe's case, and using video to kind of show as best as we can, explain the situation and everything. I think Joe did a great job. He's talent. He's got a future in TV, I think.
There you go, Joe. Okay,
but
so
he did a great job. Probably wasn't his bag, but he just did it, and I think he did a really great job.
Well, he stands up for ranchers, and he's certainly become the great poster boy for this because he's articulate, because he understands it, because he's not crazy or psychotic. He's just bringing reason to the topic, and okay. But you say this is a local issue, and on one hand, I agree. Your point's well taken. Casey, but I disagree that it's a local issue. And the reason that I say that is land disputes are breaking out all over the country. And at the real heart of it is private property rights. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Yep. You're correct.
This is really a broader issue. It's local. I get it, the case example, but it really has, in my opinion, nationwide ramifications.
Yeah. And there are, like I said, there are more stories popping up all the time about land issues. So it is a paramount important issue for people to understand his story, to relate to other stories in the country. So that's a good point. But one thing I wanted to mention was that.
Oh, go ahead.
Real quickly, when the gate was cut down at the end of September, towards the end of September, was it? Well, the end of August. Sorry. We had another Jeep Club come through one night, and they drove through the creek bed and everything. And then Joe's girlfriend called the sheriff's department to report it because they were blasting music. It was late at night. Well, we got the body camera of the sheriff's department showing up to Joe's property, talking to Joe, and they.
No, when you say we got it, this is your incredible work, right, Casey?
No, but they showed up. They showed up to give a report on this Jeep Club trespassing through his property. And the sheriff's deputy said, "What do you expect me to do about it?" and they didn't take a report, right, Joe? Right. Yeah. They refused to take a report. So you can see this body camera interaction with Joe on my Facebook if you're interested. It's just Casey Whalen on Facebook. You can look me up there. But it's got 130,000 views. So it is it's a property rights issue. The sheriff's department's been told to stand down, to not do anything with this road. Yet at another, recently, about 2 weeks ago, there was another, a gentleman was behind a gate he wasn't supposed to be accessing, and the sheriff's department showed up and cited him for cutting the lock. So it's very, very, very one-sided right now. So people are seeing.
Here's the question: Who's in charge?
It's not upholding the law.
Who's in charge at the BLM right now under Trump?
I don't know.
Do you remember?
Who's in charge of the BLM?
Right now under Trump, yeah.
I forget. I'm sorry. Burgum? I think it's Doug Burgum. I'm not sure. Don't quote me.
I think you're right. I'll have to look that up. But this is kind of what I mean. Where's Doug? Casey?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, and Joe and Jann have dealt with the BLM more intimately than I have, but they can kind of attest to their demeanor and kind of give you more insight about the BLM's position on all this.
Yeah, please.
Well, yeah. So the BLM does not want the Jeeps up there driving in the non-motorized area. They do have some cameras up there, so they've got pictures of them doing it and everything. But as of now, they have not issued any of them any kind of a citation, so I don't know if they're waiting for something or just what the deal is. Yeah, I guess that sums it up from the BLM. And we're waiting for the results of the roller coaster is being analyzed, and the BLM has put out a statement that they may flatten it out, or we're not sure what the BLM is going to do with the roller coaster. We're just waiting for the information on that to come out. So, and of course now the government's shut down, so we don't know. All right, there you have it. I don't know why more's not being done when it comes to this, and I don't really understand where this is headed. It's kind of my hesitation on some of this stuff. When we get back, we'll chat about that in more detail, ladies and gentlemen. This is very serious. I know it's a local issue, but it's really a nationwide, in my opinion, discussion that needs to happen. I side with property rights and landowners. That's where I stand. Hang tight.
As a parent, is receiving a faith-based, character-focused education for your children difficult to find? Do you believe that godly principles should be a central component in your child's education? Imagine a school where faith and integrity are at its center, where heritage and responsibility instill character. For over 40 years, American Heritage School has been educating both hearts and minds, bringing out academic excellence. This is the school where character and embracing the providence of a living God are fundamental, where students' national test scores average near the 90th percentile. With American Heritage School's advanced distance education program, distance is no longer an issue. With an accredited LDS-oriented curriculum from kindergarten through 12th grade, your children can attend from anywhere in the world. American Heritage School will prepare your child for more than a job. It will prepare them for life. To learn more, visit american-heritage.org. That's american-heritage.org.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
Back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about this incredible issue, and it's in Shoshone County, Idaho. The West Fork Pine Creek Road, facts versus deception, is the topic at hand today. We've been talking to Joe Avery. He's the landowner. We've been talking to researcher Jan Higdon, and then Casey Whalen, of course, journalist, Johnny on the spot with real video and facts and laying it out, what it looks like and everything else. If you want to check out his Substack, CaseyWhalen.substack.com. Back to Jan. Jan, so I was saying, hey, I hope we can end this thing with no violence. I mean, who wants violence? And I stand on the side of the landowner, but you're saying it's not that simple, right?
Yeah, it's not that simple. So our prosecuting attorney for the county concurred with their attorney and advised our county commissioners that the best way to resolve this legally so we can get the sheriff back out here again and do his job is to have us file for a validation and abandonment hearing and go through the whole thing all over again. And if they don't validate at the same exact meeting, they're going to abandon it. And then, of course, that would be a victory for us, except we have to pay money to have the hearing, and then allegedly these people who own the private property will have to pay to get their land back that they never got paid for and taken in the first place. And then the Jeep Club can file an appeal on that.
In other words, the landowner. In other words, the landowner always gets ran out of money and gypped out of their property over these things because of belligerent lawfare. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, yeah, but it's even worse because we haven't had to pay a nickel so far, but the county taxpayers have paid up through the yin-yang. The prosecutor had to go outside of his bailiwick and get an associate counsel who's expert in road law, and the taxpayers so far have paid that guy $80,000. And it's a blank check, and we don't know what the county has actually paid for the prosecution or the defense on this. So the taxpayers have actually paid way more than we do, and this circle just keeps going on and on. It could go to the Idaho Supreme Court again.
Do you think there's going to be violence?
No, I don't think so, because we're all really peaceful here, but we're getting really, really tired of it. We're trying not to say anything because they're the ones that are saying all the violent things. They want to hurt Joe. And what?
The caltrops that you put down, caltrops, the top tires.
Yeah.
What?
Wait.
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, yeah, here.
Well, there was one guy put on his Facebook page that I'd put down some spike strips, but he did retract that. Eventually, he did say, well, that wasn't even on my land. But, they're just saying a lot of stuff. And they're
that's
just trying to make me look.
That's why, Joe, I hope this doesn't go violent. I don't think you're going to go violent, obviously. I mean, people can listen to you and see that you're the voice of reason on this thing. Not only that, Casey documenting everything as well. But I look at this and go, these people kind of have lost their marbles. They get rabid and crazy in their agendas. And I don't know if they really are personally that passionate about it or if they believe they have money from somewhere causing these agitations, but it seems like on every front there's just intentional agitations everywhere. And when you dig in, when you follow the money, you find out people have different agendas than you might have thought that was, drawing to all this. Mike in Alaska wants to make a quick comment. Hi, Mike. All right, I guess we lost Mike.
Yeah, he must have.
Mike, are you there?
He said he wasn't going to do that.
Okay, so Mike's not ready to go. I don't know why or how or what, but in the meantime, let's go back to Jann on this for a second. Jann, what do you think the resolution to this ought to be? Number one, and number two, you're afraid that it's going to go against you, or else it's going to cost you a ton of money to defend your rights. Both problematic, right?
Yes, it seems to be caught in a circle of legal proceedings, and the only people that win are lawyers, not the taxpayers. It's just the lawyers win. They get really rich.
Or sometimes the people with a lot of money, maybe the Jeep Club, if they can raise money, whatever they do, or some environmental group. It's hard to say kind of who's involved where, right? What's agitating this? Do you know?
Well, yeah, they have bamboozled the Idaho Recreation Council, which almost all recreation groups in Idaho are paying members of, and the Blue Ribbon Coalition, which is a national group. They're all about access, recreational access. And lately, I don't know, maybe their funds dried up. I don't know, but they don't seem to understand the whole entire situation just yet.
Understood. All right, let's go back to Casey for a second. Casey Whalen, a well-known journalist, doing a phenomenal job on this thing. There's no legal evidence of a West Fork Pine Creek Road. What do you see going forward on this then? As you you're the documentary guy on this. Are you going to be documenting vandalism and violence? Are you going to be documenting a peaceful resolution? Are you going to be able to subpoena or the equivalent? I don't know what it's called there. Locally, it's grandma in the state of Utah, for instance. But what's going to happen with this in your mind from a documentary or documentation point of view?
I don't know. I'm sometimes in the area and I'm on standby, so I'll just keep covering it as we go. And I've done some records requests. The last thing I did was a records request through the Shoshone County Sheriff's Office for emails with personnel and this Jeep Club, and I did get some hits on that to see what they're saying, and it looks like they're relatively tied at the hip. Kind of looks like they're buddy. Just watching some of these people interact in person, and you can tell a lot just from watching people. So we'll just keep tabs on it and cover it as it develops.
All right, Mike, we're going to give you a quick second shot from Alaska. If you're there, go quick, sir.
I'm a gold miner. I know the mining law of 1872. Is this patented land?
Is it patented land? Yes, it is. It's a patented homestead. Yes.
That means it's mining ground on federal land. You cannot put a gate up anywhere on federal land legally. Salazar broke the rules with Harry Reid to steal the land from the ranchers so they could put up those stupid solar mirrors. We came from miles around down there to fight these guys. You cannot stop people from crossing public land. And if they go through a creek,
wait, stop, Mike. Stop. What we're talking about is private land. It's crossing private land. That's the discussion.
I don't care. It's a patented claim. It's a patented house and mining ground. Move. A recreation ground. Let me tell you something. When they pull ground out and they say, oh, here's your recreation ground, they close everything off. The Audubon Society, the WWF, and the Sierra Club ought to be burned to the ground. They're all communists. Every one of them. Anytime they try to gate off your land, they're communists.
So the gate
Mike,
was put up by
Are you with AMRA? Mike, are you with AMRA, American Mining Rights Association?
I'm not going to say.
Okay, I'm assuming you are.
Conservationists have ruined this country. They're communists.
No, I understand.
I understand,
Mike.
The mining law
Mike, hold on, Mike. I'm going to let you go.
Allows you access to your mines. However, in the newer times,
we don't care about the newer times. The 1872 mining law is a congressional act, and I hope to God they never close it down.
I understand. Let Mike go, because I think Mike's misunderstanding. The private landowner put up the gate, and they have every right to put up a gate on their property. I don't care what any laws that we want to point to that may conflict with his rights to his own land. But if he doesn't want people crossing his private property, I don't think government has any domain anywhere. Jan, do you want to quickly respond to that? Because I think he's confused on the details.
I'm going to say the Mining Act of 1876 does allow miners to mine anywhere, however, and give them access, but the access route is debatable, and that comes through resource management planning and NEPA and the whole process, the permitting process, yes. But there are no mines up here anywhere nearby, so that's
the
not
issue
an
really.
issue.
But the issue really, in my mind, is Joe Avery's private property, Jan. I mean, I don't know where Mike's
it was
kind of
all
confused.
federal land before it was patented.
No, I understand, but I guess then the debate then becomes, hey, do the Indians own the land? I mean, where do we want to go with that discussion? I'm not saying he doesn't have some interesting points, or I'm just saying at the end of the day, where do we go with that discussion? I mean, pretty soon you're going to go, it's all Adam's land because Adam and Eve had it first, right? At some point there's got to be some semblance of how do you claim authority at your position, but yet not before it and after it. And I mean, that's where it gets so muddy, Jan.
Well, yeah, and there's a federal land patent issued on all this property from the federal government. So I understand what he's saying, and I know his group and Shannon Poe and those people quite well, but they're not totally correct.
All right, the battle's on. Joe, let's go back to Joe Avery here, because he's the landowner. At the end of the day, what would you want the resolution to be? I know you've only got about 30 seconds, but please.
Well, I guess the resolution is I think the Jeep Club and any of the public that want to access their public land use the other road that is there. There's a good road. You just use it. They don't need this other road that goes up through the creek bottom.
And that's why I'm saying it's so simple. There's already access. Why are we even fighting and debating and spending money and getting crazy on this thing? What's the value? And that's why I say follow the money, Casey Whalen, my friend, because when you follow the money, you're going to find out people have different agendas than we may realize. And that's where, sadly, we're going to have to leave it because we're flat out of time. But check out Casey Whalen's incredible Substack, ladies and gentlemen. CaseyWhalen.substack.com. He's everywhere. Check out North Idaho Exposed. Joe, thank you so much. All I can tell you is God save our republic.